The story follows Tommy Riley, a high school student who is unexpectedly forced to move to a new neighborhood with his father. Their new home is in a tough area where gangs hold a strong presence and tension is high. On Tommy's first day at his new school, a group of local teens targets him, mocking him and asserting their dominance. As if that wasn't enough, these same bullies turn out to be in his class. Trying to avoid conflict, Tommy reluctantly switches seats each time the bullies tell him to. But after the third time, he reaches his limit. When the bullies demand he move again, he stands his ground, refusing to be pushed around any longer. Tensions are high, and a fight is on the verge of breaking out, but the teacher enters just in time, breaking up the standoff and instructing everyone to sit down. During recess, however, the bullies confront Tommy again, this time with reinforcements. Just as things are about to escalate, another gang interrupts, causing the bullies to back off. The school's environment is charged with gang rivalry, and fights are common. In one such clash, the leaders of two rival gangs face off in front of their peers, with one even pulling a weapon. Yet, before the fight reaches its peak, teachers intervene, stopping it before it can turn deadly. Outside of school, life isn't any easier for Tommy. When he returns home, he's faced with debt collectors sent because of his father's massive gambling debts, which were amassed after Tommy's mother passed away. The debt collectors issue a warning. His father must pay the overdue debt, leaving Tommy feeling even more trapped. Later that night, Tommy's father comes home and asks about his first day. Tommy tries to hide the day's troubles, but his father sees through it. Finally, Tommy admits that debt collectors visited, which visibly upsets his father. Overwhelmed by guilt, his father apologizes, acknowledging the burden he's placed on Tommy. He promises to make things right, revealing he's found a high-paying job in another city that will allow him to pay off the debt. Now, sober and determined to turn things around, he assures Tommy he won't gamble anymore. To help his father, Tommy takes up a dishwashing job at a local restaurant owned by a classmate's parents. But one night, while working, the bullies from school come in and spot him. They decide to pick up right where they left off, with Tommy once again the target of their mockery. At first, he tries to brush it off, but when they push him to the ground, grinning smugly, Tommy has had enough. He springs up and swiftly punches two of them. Just as he's squaring off with the third, an older man, Jack, steps in and stops the fight. Jack, a local boxing promoter, is impressed by Tommy's tenacity and offers him a chance to fight in an underground boxing match, promising $600. Tommy isn't easily swayed and counters with his own demand, $150 up front and nothing less. After a tense negotiation, Jack agrees, sealing the deal with a handshake, all witnessed by the restaurant owner's daughter, Dawn. The next night, Tommy arrives at the gritty underground fight venue, where Jack introduces him to Noah, his trainer and mentor. Noah's advice is blunt. Fairness doesn't matter in this fight. Anything goes. And Tommy's first opponent is none other than Black Death, a ruthless fighter known for his dirty tactics. To Tommy's surprise, he spots his classmate Romano, who's shocked to see him there and warns Tommy about Black Death's dangerous right hand. Taking Romano's advice seriously, Tommy steps into the ring amidst a crowd eager to see Black Death destroy him. The fight starts brutally, with Black Death elbowing Tommy in the temple, leaving him bloodied and landing a hard hit below the belt. Despite the obvious fouls, the referee turns a blind eye, making it clear that in this ring, there are no rules. Eventually, however, Black Death begins to tire, and Tommy seizes his chance, unleashing a series of attacks that bring his opponent down. Against all odds, Tommy wins, leaving the crowd stunned. The roar of approval fills the room as he raises his hand in victory. The following day, Tommy meets with Mr. Horn, Jack's boss, to collect his winnings. Impressed by Tommy's performance, Mr. Horn offers him a more permanent place in the underground ring. But Tommy declines, insisting he only wants his $150 and nothing more. Later, Tommy runs into Dawn, who's dismayed to learn about his underground fighting. She's relieved when he assures her it was just one fight and that he's not planning to make a career of it. But things take a turn when Jack invites Tommy to another meeting with Horn. Horn reveals the grim truth. The debt collectors who showed up at Tommy's home work for him, and Tommy's father has started gambling again, now owing an astounding $155,000. Horn proposes a solution. If Tommy agrees to fight a few more matches, the debt will be erased. Reluctantly, Tommy agrees, determined to settle his father's debt. On his way back, Tommy witnesses his classmate Lincoln being attacked by gang members. Determined to help, he jumps in, but they're quickly outnumbered and barely manage to escape. Afterward, Lincoln shares his own struggles. Despite being so young, he has a wife, Laura Lee, and a child to support, which is why he, like Tommy, has turned to underground boxing. That night, Tommy decides to watch Lincoln's fight, gaining a newfound respect for his friend. At first, Lincoln seems to be getting overpowered by his much larger opponent, but in a surprising turn, he manages to shift the momentum and claim victory. Watching Lincoln's triumph only fuels Tommy's curiosity about Horn, so after the fight, he heads to Noah's house to learn more. He discovers that Horn is a former boxer, a legend who once held the World Heavyweight Championship and lost only once. After that sole defeat, he quickly won a rematch, delivering a blow that left his opponent with a lifelong injury. However, Horn's own career was cut short by a severe leg injury. Despite multiple surgeries, he was never able to return to his prime, so he turned to promoting boxing, building a profitable career without risking further injury. Days pass, and Tommy hasn't been to school or seen Dawn, which starts to worry her. When she finally visits him during training, Tommy opens up about his family troubles and how they've driven him back into the underground boxing scene. Although it's a tough situation, Dawn understands, and they grow closer. Soon after, Tommy's life takes a positive turn. Dawn supports him at his matches, and they begin a romantic relationship. Tommy also bonds with Romano and Lincoln, his new friends with whom he trains and spends his days. But tragedy strikes when Romano faces an opponent named Shortcut. Romano controls the fight until the 5th round, when Shortcut covertly applies a mysterious liquid to his gloves. As the fight resumes, Shortcut traps Romano in a chokehold, forcing him to inhale whatever was on the gloves. Romano's vision blurs, and he struggles to continue. Taking advantage, Shortcut beats him mercilessly, seemingly relishing the punishment. Watching from ringside, Tommy can't bear the brutality. When the referee ignores his pleas to stop the fight, Tommy runs to the bell and rings it himself, forcing the match to end. But it's too late. Romano collapses unconscious. Afterward, Tommy returns home, only to receive a strangely casual call from his father, who makes no mention of Tommy's struggles and simply says he'll be delayed due to unfinished business. The following day, Tommy visits Romano in the hospital, where doctors reveal the devastating news. Romano is brain dead. Consumed by anger, Tommy is determined to avenge his friend. His chance comes when he faces Shortcut in the ring. As the fight begins, Shortcut taunts him, asking if Romano has died yet. Tommy notices Shortcut attempting to use the same trick with his gloves, but this time Tommy is prepared. He strikes Shortcut with a blow to the groin, catching him off guard, then unleashes a relentless series of punches, showing no mercy. In a quick first-round finish, Tommy wins the fight. With Romano gone, Lincoln remains Tommy's only close friend. Their bond deepens as they face the challenges of the underground boxing world together, honoring Romano's memory. One day during training, Lincoln suddenly collapses, his body weakening inexplicably. Doctors discover that he sustained a serious head injury the previous week and is now displaying symptoms of brain damage. They warn him he needs at least several days of rest to avoid risking permanent injury. However, Horn has other plans for Lincoln. Later that night, Tommy is puzzled to find his scheduled opponent fighting another boxer. He approaches Horn to clarify the situation, only to learn Horn's shocking scheme. He wants Tommy to face Lincoln, who has agreed to the fight. Furious, Tommy protests, knowing Lincoln is in no condition to compete. He fears for his friend's safety and the possibility of losing him, but Horn insists that Lincoln is determined to fight. "This is my big chance to prove myself," Lincoln insists, believing Horn will elevate him to the professional level if he wins. Tommy realizes he cannot change Lincoln's mind, so he tries to convince Horn to call off the match, but his efforts are futile. Days pass, and finally, the day of the fight arrives. The match is billed as the biggest event in the underground boxing scene, and Dawn is there to support Tommy. However, Tommy is anything but enthusiastic, especially compared to Lincoln's fierce determination. As the first round begins, Lincoln launches a fierce attack on Tommy. To everyone's surprise, Tommy remains passive, even when Lincoln knocks him down. This infuriates Lincoln. "Come on, man! You can't just lay there!" he shouts. The fight continues in this lackluster fashion, and Horn, dissatisfied with the dull action, threatens Dawn, saying that if Tommy doesn't start taking the fight seriously, he can do whatever he wants with her. Despite the threat, Tommy refuses to retaliate against Lincoln, knowing a single punch could be catastrophic. Eventually, to appease Horn and the crowd, Tommy lands a single punch on Lincoln. He then pleads with Lincoln to abandon the fight, arguing that if one of them dies, Horn won't care. He only wants to profit from their suffering. But Lincoln responds by striking Tommy in the head. At that moment, Tommy realizes he must stop trying to persuade Lincoln. If Lincoln is so eager for Horn's approval, Tommy is ready to fight back. To his surprise, Lincoln suddenly grasps the truth in Tommy's words. "This isn't right. We shouldn't be fighting each other." He chooses to stop the fight, much to the audience's disappointment. Horn, furious, storms into the ring and orders Lincoln to finish the match. But Lincoln stands firm, declaring he will no longer fight for Horn. This defiance pushes Horn over the edge. Without a word, he punches Lincoln, sending him crashing out of the ring. Seeing this, Tommy recognizes that Horn has crossed a line. It's time to confront Horn about his despicable behavior. Determined, Tommy steps into the ring and challenges Horn to a duel. If Tommy wins, Horn must pay for his actions and clear Lincoln's debt. If Tommy wins, his father's debt will be cleared, but if Horn wins, Tommy will work for him for life. Horn agrees to these terms but adds a twist. They'll fight bare-knuckled. With his vast experience as a former boxing champion, Horn has the upper hand early in the fight, taunting and mocking Tommy at every turn. However, Horn's arrogance soon becomes his weakness. Tommy, though young, is quick to adapt and analyze Horn's moves, learning to counter them effectively. Tommy devises a strategy, first allowing Horn to hit his head, which results in one of Horn's fingers getting injured. Next, Tommy taunts Horn, stirring his anger just as Horn had done at the beginning of the match. By observing closely, Tommy realizes Horn's rage makes him vulnerable, but he needs more to secure a win. So Tommy fakes an injury to his right arm, catching Horn completely off guard. At the perfect moment, Tommy delivers a powerful punch to Horn's face, followed by a series of relentless blows, ultimately knocking him down for good. With Horn's defeat, Tommy and his father are finally free from the debt. The film closes with Tommy celebrating his victory alongside Lincoln and Dawn. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching.